Good evening, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to an unofficial little vlog for full coverage writers. I'm actually coming to you today to do a little summary on Nano Week 1 and the shenanigans that have ensued since day one. Basically, just a little recap to sort of cover how the first 7 days of the month have gone so far and kind of what I've learned about my novel and the whole experience of getting back into the whole writing process full time. Well, not full time. Working on a novel every day is the equivalent of full time for me. Hey, Justin.
Hello, hello.
I actually just started kicking things off. We haven't really gotten anywhere yet.
That's fair.
I mostly wanted to do a little week one summary of how things have been going for Nano, like how's the writing process been going, and have you learned anything about your novel since day one and stuff like that.
Cool. Are we live at the moment?
Yes, we are.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab my headphones.
Okie dokie. While I wait for Justin, I'll get things rolling a little bit. I started off Nano this year with a semi-solid plot. My whole cerebral steampunk tea shop plot that I've kind of been talking about a bit during the Word Ninjas Live episodes on our YouTube page. And starting on day one, for some reason, I made the crazy goal of doing 2,000 words a day rather than the average 1,667, because why not? The regular challenge apparently wasn't enough for me on top of my night classes and full-time work and 4 hours of travel per day and everything else that goes on. Why not add 2,000 words a day on top of everything else? Who needs sleep? Especially in November. But yeah, amazingly, I've actually kept up with the 2,000 words a day so far. I have yet to actually get my 2,000 words in today, and I still have 2.5 hours to crank that out. So chances are after this, I'm going to be going into Write or Die and just pounding out the 2,000 words for tonight so that I can keep up my daily quota. But for the moment, not counting today, things have been going really well, and my plot isn't even remotely what it was originally. I had a lot of telepaths and empaths and telekinetics within the original plot. That's kind of been washed away for an entirely different focus on the story. I still have the same characters, although some have changed priorities. The father figure is no longer going to be one of the secondary characters. He's more tertiary, and one of the tertiary characters has become secondary and is kind of become the sidekick, as it were, to my main character, Skyliera. So now I have the dynamic duo, or sort of the dysfunctional duo, really, as it is at the moment, kind of muddling their way through the plot so far at 12,000 words and change, soon to be 14,000 after this. But I also realized that my main character has foibles and issues, but not enough to really care about. So I gave her some bipolar disorder, because I am horrible to my characters. So now Skylera has bipolar disorder, and that is playing a very large part in the plot, more so than I would have expected, considering she's an empath. So she is able to sense feelings and kind of convey her feelings upon others within a certain range, and she's bipolar. So depending on where she happens to be on the emotional spectrum at the moment, things can go a little sideways, as it were, which has really helped with my word count, but I feel really bad for her. But it has also netted me some very interesting passages where she kind of monologues her progress from her normal level bipolar episodes to the bottom of the barrel, this is as low as I'm going to get situations, which I haven't fully written yet, and I don't know if I'm actually going to fully write, because that's really hard to put down onto paper. Yes, it's a fictional character, but trying to write out these scenarios where she's at the very bottom of her life and it's as worse as it can possibly get, that's not easy to write. Maybe when I'm not doing 2,000 words a day, I'll take the time to actually figure that out. Yay, Justin's back.
I am back.
I've just been rambling about my plot and how things have considerably changed since pre-Nano.
Oh. My novel has not changed much. It's just a matter of me planning when events happen in the narrative. I know the order of events, but there's two traumatic scenes that occur, and I'm trying to make it so that the first traumatic scene doesn't happen like in the first 5 chapters. So I have to go back and write a lot of exposition because I really want the reader to fall in love with my characters for very specific reasons later in the novel.
Yeah, I was just telling listeners that my plot has changed considerably since day one. The characters are the same, but a lot of priorities have shifted as I've kind of just weeded certain concepts out and swapped them out for something else.
I've been actually last night I hit a major breakthrough. It was funny because I was doing the thing where I don't want to buffer, so I've been writing exactly 1667 to 2,000 words a day.
How has that been going?
So far it's been going well. It's hard during the weekdays because of work, and you know how my work is.
Yeah.
Last night I got home at 9:30, and I hadn't written yet. I had planned on writing in the morning, but I was stuck troubleshooting a program I was writing. So I ended up not writing. And then I laid down to bed briefly and talked to my wife. I was like, I feel bad because I told myself I would write every day, no excuses. But it's already 10 o'clock, and I just don't know if I have it in me right now. I mean, I can write twice as much tomorrow. I'm not going to have that problem. And then she's like, why don't you just sit down and write like 200 words or something? You don't have to write 2,000 words a day if you can't do it. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And so I went on to the Reddit NaNoWrimo IRC channel and participated in a 30-minute word war, of which I wrote 1,120 words.
Nice.
And then I discovered something about one of my characters that I'm going to use later in the novel. The daughter of the main character, she tells a story early on in the novel. I had not planned this to happen at all. This was just free writing. But the story that she tells is actually going to play an integral role near the end of the novel. There's going to be a lot of callbacks to it, which is really cool that I brought that all together on the plot page.
Out of curiosity.
Oh, go ahead.
Out of curiosity, what's your word count at the moment?
I'm just over quota of yesterday's quota and under today's quota because I haven't written yet.
Same
I was about
here.
to go right, but then I got then you called. Let me see. Nano. I've been logging my Nano stuff. You can now. I don't know if you could do this last year because I had tried at one point, but you can actually log in previous days on the word count graph now.
Yeah, that's brand new this year.
Okay, that's amazing.
I would have loved that last year.
Or any year.
Yeah, that's a really nice feature. It's a little hidden on your personal Nano profile page, but
I think after you update your word count for the first time, it brings you to that chart, and then you can see change by day. But
yeah.
to get there in the first place, it looks a little... I'm trying to do it now.
It takes a little bit of digging.
Yeah. Stats, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
I've been doing that because I write all of my Nano pretty much in 750words.com. So I don't have a cumulative word count conveniently handy because it only tallies that day's amount that I put in there. So I've been having to go back to, okay, what was my numbers for the day before? How do I add all these up? I mean, granted, I've been tossing every day's worth into a note into Evernote and then in the title I have the word count for that day, so I can add it up eventually. But
Looks like my word count is at 10,261.
nice. Guess it's only fair that I actually track down what's mine. Let's see here. That is a noisy fan.
I
All
don't
right.
have it on this end, so.
I'm currently sitting at 12,608. But that's because I'm still trying to net 2,000 words a day. So I should be at 14,000 before midnight tonight.
Mm-hmm. I think we can do some word wars. Maybe not live on camera because I feel that would be incredibly boring for the listeners.
Yeah.
Yep. So for the next 15 minutes, we're not going to say anything. You can just watch our intent faces as we rush through
Yeah.
as many words as possible.
You can just hear the sound of our keyboards, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. Although, as I mentioned on the podcast, the sound of the pitter patter of my own keyboard really keeps me going.
Mm. Yeah, yesterday I kind of hit a mental wall because I got home at about 9:30 or so after class and a full day of work, and I've been pulling 19-hour days all week, so I'm a little
Hey,
tired.
we can be work buddies.
Yeah, and I just did not have it in me, but I swore to myself, 2,000 words a day, no excuses, whatever it takes.
Yep, you have a very similar goal that I do.
Yeah. So
Mine just
I
happens to be slightly lower.
yeah, I shut down email, social media, all the various things that distract me, camped out in Write or Die, and just pounded out 750 word sprints. And I usually went over, so I got closer to 1,000 each sprint. But I got in at like 11:45, my 2,000 words for the night.
Nice, nice. Yeah, the Reddit Nano people are very welcoming as well, and I've been doing word sprints with them almost every night that I do it at night. I've been trying to do some writing in the morning, but at morning I'm at work, and it's very difficult to find time to write when you have a huge deadline on one day. So, CJ, I've been struggling with something.
What?
I'm really excited about my novel,
Mm,
and I really actually think that this is a publishable idea. That eventually, after some rewriting and reworking it, I really think people would really like to read it. And I'm not just saying that as a typical writer that everything you write is pure gold,
yeah.
because most of the stuff that I write is pure crap, especially during Nano. Uh,
Well, that's half the fun. You get the crap out now so that you can clean it
right.
up later.
So my novel, it contains a very graphic scene in the beginning, uh, and plot devices that occur early. And as I've mentioned before, there's sort of like four possible timelines depending on what you believe is actually happening in the novel versus what's in the main character's head.
Yep.
Sort of like American Psycho-ish type of what's real and what's not real. It doesn't get that extreme or that obvious, but I want to discuss this with people so badly and talk about my ideas and hear what other people have to say, but I'm feeling very reserved about revealing anything about this novel because I feel like as soon as I reveal anything about it, a reader that finds out too early what's actually going on, is going to be a detriment to them. And I kind of
Uh,
want to like show my masterpiece to everybody when it's fully done.
yeah. I have the exact same feelings for this Nano, actually. I think I actually have a really good plot that once finished and cleaned up, of course,
Yeah.
I think is actually going to be really good, which is not something I would say about a lot of my stories that I've worked on in the past.
And unfortunately, most of my like really questionable content and plot devices happen early in the novel. Uh, so to talk about any portion of the novel, it's almost like I've already revealed the first. I hate to say twist, but the first
Yeah.
plot action thing that is not as expected. But then I'm picturing like, okay, I published this book. What are they going to put on the back cover? Well, the first thing they're going to put is a sentence exactly spoiling the first third of the book. They're like, father deals with something, and then that
Yeah.
something will be revealed on the back of the book. And then,
Well,
how much do I reveal to draw readers in, and how much do I keep fully secret?
I've actually seen some books that do that just because they kind of have to a degree where, oh, one of these characters dies or appears to die really early in the story, but their name is on the back cover and it implies that they're going to be there farther down the road, so kind of spoils that they're not really dead, or at least not yet.
Right, and there's something to be said about journey, not destination. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
proponents of people who get things spoiled for them or being aware of the ending. I actually know somebody who reads the last couple chapters of a book before he starts reading the rest of it, just to get that out of the way, and then just kind of fall into the story and enjoy the story itself for what it is.
Okay. I mean, even in those stories where something is slightly spoiled, you still don't know exactly how it happens or
Mm-hmm.
why it
Or the
happens or what the details
ramifications
are.
of what
Yeah.
happens.
So you still want to read the story to find the full details and figure out how it all ties together. Yeah, for my story, there's two main twists. One about two-thirds of the way through, and one in the last chapter itself. And even talking about one of them spoils both. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
be so careful, but I want to talk about it because it's so cool and clever. But you're stuck.
Yep. And the first major plot happening uh, is extremely graphic and has a lot of emotional weight behind it. And I want to talk to people about this emotional weight. And I want to talk to them. I want to talk to people who've had similar experiences, but I have a feeling those people aren't going to want to talk to me because it's going to hit a little too close to home for most people if they've experienced what these characters experienced in the first half of the
Yeah.
novel.
I don't know if you heard my beginning rambling while you were still setting up,
No, I was in the other room.
but my empath is now bipolar, and I've been trying to have to work that into the story, which has been an interesting experience because that's not easy to write about or portray accurately and respectably.
Hmm.
So that's been an interesting challenge. Although I really got what I think is a really cool uh, three-paragraph blurb from last night's writing about her bipolar disorder and how she thinks about it in her perspective. But that was kind of a little micro eureka moment so far for Nano for me. But there's only so many people you can talk to about bipolar disorder without triggering things
Right.
awkwardly.
Yeah. Exactly. You can talk to some people who have had experience dealing with people who are bipolar.
Yeah.
There's that, and I've been debating contacting a few police stations, uh, or maybe even like
What did you do?
what do you call those town like town doctors where when during tragic events they're usually doing all like the autopsy type stuff. There's a
Um,
name for that guy, but it's lost on me. Um, but I want to talk to that guy.
yeah, I'm blanking on the term.
But so what do? I call up the police station and say, "Hey, I want to talk about this horrifically violent event, and what are the ramifications of it?" Totally not suspiciously at all.
Yeah, but don't worry. It's for a writing
Yeah,
exercise.
it's
I'm a
definitely for
writer,
writing.
so
I'm not totally planning something.
yeah.
So every time I try to think of something, I'm like, well, that's probably a terrible idea. So ultimately, I'm gonna have to turn on incognito on Google and go to town
Yeah.
on some web searches behind a proxy so that people don't get suspicious.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have to do that eventually on some of the finer details of my plot.
It'd be like contacting the FBI and being like, so what typically happens when a building blows up? Like, so what do the people do? It's like that's probably not an appropriate topic of conversation ever
They
in any aspect.
explode. That's what happens.
Yes, exactly. It'd be like talking to the people that were at the Boston bombing. I probably
Hmm.
shouldn't talk to those people. At
I
least
mean,
not yet.
unless one of them was like an actual close friend of yours and they were comfortable discussing it with you in some way, shape, or form, okay.
Right,
But
yes.
otherwise,
Yeah,
there's
it's
no
dicey.
respectable way to really go about doing that.
No, not that I can think of.
Even though I don't even remember where I saw it. Apparently, one of the worst costumes of 2013 for Halloween was a Boston Marathon victim costume.
Yeah, I saw that. That's not unusual for uh, tragic events for people to take advantage of that. I've seen that before. I'm so desensitized to that kind of thing. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah,
Offensive for
nowadays it's just par for the course, but still, like, really, really,
yes, really. I have to I have to say something, and I want all the attention. So, what's the most rise I can get out of people?
well, I mean, it worked. It got on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have as your beverage of choice for the night?
Uh, Another one of my single malt scotches is the Ledaig 10. I find it's a really good intro scotch to the peaty side of things and the smoky side of things. It's my go-to drink to give people and be like, this is what scotch is supposed to taste like. It's not
Nice.
supposed to taste like buttery apples. Uh, and it's light enough where it's not like overpowering in smoke. Like Lefroy
Hmm.
10, it
Oh,
tastes.
that one's so good.
You're a fan of the Lefroy 10?
Yeah,
I
and the
like the
Bowmore.
campfire flavor. It tastes like you're literally drinking a campfire.
I'm actually a fan of the Bowmore. I think it's 18, but it's just out of my budget.
I didn't realize that you were a Scotch fan. We
I
will have
am.
to get together more because I have quite an extensive collection.
Although for my birthday, I'm going cheap. I only have actually, what the hell do I have? Oh yeah, really cheap. I just have Captain Morgan's rum at the moment because that's just
The
what I have
best
on
Scotch.
hand.
That's my favorite Scotch, Captain Morgan's.
It's what I have on hand at the moment. I didn't have a chance to really stock up and celebrate appropriately. I mean, it's 28, big deal. Maybe in 2 years I'll go for the Bowmore 18 or something.
It's funny you mentioned that. You might be interested in getting in on something like this.
Hmm.
Uh, I want to get a 30-year Scotch before I hit 30, um, because I need to drink a Scotch that started being made before I was born. Uh,
Okay.
and I'm running out of time to do that because after 30, the price skyrockets.
Well, even from like 15 to 30, this price skyrockets.
Oh,
But
well, maybe for you, I make pretty good money as an engineer, so I get to spend a little
oh
bit more on
yeah,
dumb things. Uh,
you have a proper salary.
yes, and I make overtime.
Nice.
I just brought in $500 of overtime in the last 2 weeks, so
Yeah,
that was
that's the
good.
curse of a salaried worker.
Mm.
It is what it is.
But yeah, you're welcome to take in my collection. Um, but anyways, I wanted to get a like a Talisker 30. The price is going to be between like $300 and $400 for a
Hmm.
single bottle. And there's a couple other people that are interested as well. Um, I would definitely let you have a small 2 ounce sample of it. I wouldn't expect anything in return. Uh, but yeah, I'll keep you in mind when that all goes down.
All right.
And you got to try this Yamazaki 18 that I have. It's Japanese whiskey.
I haven't tried that one yet. I'm intrigued by it though.
It's very good. The Yamazaki 12 is a little too honey like for me, but the 18 is really good.
Hmm.
So now that we're done with the Scotch hour with
Yeah.
TJ and Justin,
Back to Nano.
all writers are alcoholics, right? It fits into the motif.
Yeah. I actually wanted to do a reading of some of my writing from yesterday just because it entertains me so much. I don't know if there's anything from what you've written that wouldn't spoil things horribly that you'd be interested in sharing, perhaps.
It's not going to be good. Um,
Well, this has not been cleaned up at all either, but
I could. I could tell the story that got me the 30-minute word war. It's a little repetitive, but it's kind of cool.
Well,
I could read that.
yeah, if you pull
Um,
that up, I'll do my little reading to give you a bit of time, if that works.
yeah, I got it up. I just have to check it and make sure there's nothing stupid in it.
Well, this is not an official anything for our group, so we can be as weird and stupid as we want,
Okay.
at least
Well,
within
this isn't
YouTube
a
standards.
yeah. This isn't a smut scene. This is a child reading a story, so it'd be pretty
Yeah.
terrible if it was a
We'll
smut.
leave the smut scenes to Will and Ed.
Yeah.
But my little blurb from yesterday about Sky Liera's internalization of her bipolar disorder and what it actually means to her got me 3 whole paragraphs, which was surprisingly eloquent, or at least so I thought at the time. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But basically goes down as I don't have depression. Depression is just a waterlogged gray blanket on your brain, slowing down your reactions, dragging your reaction times down, and generally preventing any sense of energy or motivation to care about life. I'm bipolar. My soul is a large chunk of cold black coal. And yet, there are times where that coal lump can be set aflame, and I'm burning so bright I feel like I could melt iron in my fists and headbutt a castle. But just with any coal piece, that fire burns out, and I'm back to the cold, dark void of soul wrenching depression. It's taken a lot of effort to acknowledge that the gray blanket of depression can be dried out. It can be set to air out in the breeze. That lump of coal weighing down my every atom of my being can be pressured and crushed over time until it crumbles away, and there's a diamond nugget amongst the darkness and terror. It's not easy. It's not quick. And there's no telling when that coal will crack and reveal the glittery wonder inside. But without that constant pressure to survive and better myself, without that steady drive to find that shiny amongst the ash, I'll be nothing more than the lump of coal that occasionally catches a spark and burns itself out melodramatically. I've burnt my body on the flames of mania. I've lost myself in the chilled tundra of suicidal depression. Now it's time to crush that all away and let the gem inside come out and shine. I don't know how long it'll take me to chip away the blackened, charred shell that's encased who I want to be, who I strive to be, who people need me to be. But it's about time I go down that road and find out just what that part of me is like. That's what happens when you're doing 19-hour days and running on 5 hours of sleep for an entire week. You get a bit
That
interesting.
that's fair. It's much better written than what I pulled out of um, the word war that I was referring to. I love the concept of what's going on, and it's I don't know if it's based on anything that has already been written before because it is about trees and wisps. So
Hmm.
that subject has been treated many times, I'm sure.
Well,
But this is kind of my own take on it.
if it's any consolation to you, apparently I scared away the one viewer we had while live streaming, so
Hooray!
there goes that. So now we're left to future viewers. Hello,
So
future viewers.
let's see. So quick background on this passage. It talks about the birth of the world when it was covered with trees, uh, which is actually true. Um, there was a period of time where the trees were so thick and tall and sun blotting that no fungus or other bacteria had evolved to be able to eat the complex chemicals within a tree. So when the trees died and fell over, they just were left there as giant piles of trees. And there's actually a long period of time where the earth was just literally covered with layer after layer of dead trees until a meteor hit or something else of that nature. And basically, the entire world was consumed with fire, and all the trees burned up and turned into ash. And
Hmm.
this is kind of a take on what happened after. Basically, these new trees grew up from the ashes. And I'm going to talk about them briefly. And I apologize if I repeat anything or grammar incorrect. This was done during a word war where I was trying to literally type as fast as humanly possible. Soon the trees reached their adult size and no longer grew, but their power grew ever stronger. They desired to move, to wander the planet untethered. Their desire grew so strong that Kyotera gave the trees a gift for their long-standing, outstanding, lengthy service. And I'm going to pause here and tell you Kyotera is sort of my pet name for every MMO character I've ever made. Kyotera, in a fake language that I half made up that's half based on Latin, means earth lover. So it's appropriate that she would be in control of these trees. So Kyotera gave the trees a gift. Kyotera gave them the gift of soul, and therefore she sacrificed herself, and her spirit was split up evenly among the trees, giving them immortality. No creature, no natural occurrence could ever cause them harm. In addition, their souls were able to leave their bodies, their trunks, and wander the earth as balls of light and energy. These became known as the wisps, and in the remnants of an older time, where Kyotera controlled all things, and all things came to pass through her, the trees remained as protective spirits for eternity. However, their energy slowly drained the longer they were left out. The forest of trees figured this out and kept themselves from leaving their forms for too long at a time, and only go out when needed. They were able to keep alive at almost full levels for thousands of years. The drawback was that they were unable to leave far from their stations. They were still ultimately chained to the earth. The trees became used to this life once again, as they always had been. In fact, with the ability to stretch their legs out into the open, they felt satisfied. After nearly 10 millennium, this ability to leave was still young to them. One night in the distant future, a small girl wandered into the middle of the forest. The trees could feel her weight on the soil, and this was new to them. They had never felt anything but the weight of the dense, moist air on their roots. Curious, a single tree was commanded to leave the post to investigate. The wisp wandered around, but was unable to perceive the child in any way but the heavy footprints. The little girl spotted the wisp darting to and fro, attempting to make some sort of contact. The little girl laughed and giggled, and the trees and the wisps were able to feel the vibrations in the air, and they were pleased. They felt the positive energy in her laugh through the vibrations. The wisp, not wanting to stay out too long, went back to the trunk. The little girl began to cry, and the negative energy from her voice was felt against the bark. The trees didn't like this. They agreed to take turns running around the girl, keeping her company, sometimes in pairs, sometimes in groups. They danced with her until she grew older, and soon she was too old to move, by the tree standards anyways. Eventually her laugh subsided, but the trees were still able to hear her shallow breathing. And I'll stop there. And ultimately, I
Interesting.
ran out of things to talk about, and talked about how the child ended up giving her life to the soil, and the trees absorbed her energy, and the wisps became at full strength again, and that turned out to be a cycle. I don't know if that will stay in the final novel, but the idea of the wisps being the souls of the trees, which is probably what they are. I haven't done a whole lot of background checking on wisp lore.
Hmm.
Uh, but the idea that they can only perceive vibrations um, and they don't have any sight was kind of interesting to me. And their interactions with a small child, which is new to them.
Cool.
So that's a passage from my horror novel.
It all goes downhill from there.
Actually, the way it's written as is, yes. There's going to be a lot more stuff in between, but as it stands, basically the second X scene, bad things happen,
Hmm.
and the world falls into chaos. But only for the one small town of Castle Rock. I mean, the other name that I chose.
Hopefully, mine does not turn into a horror novel. It very easily could, considering the
I
villains
was under the
are.
impression that based on your ending, it could easily descend to that level.
I don't want it to be a horror novel. I want it to be a psychological thriller where the ending really leaves a lot open to interpretation.
Are we writing the same novel by any chance? In
I
concept,
hope
at
not.
least. Yeah, my ending is going to leave, those four paths open to interpretation, and it's I'm trying to decide how much I want to reveal within the words of the novel to try to give hints at what I think is the real thing to happen, or if I want to evenly distribute the clues to confuse the reader even more.
Well, mine is just going to be you have the three primary characters in the final scene. Someone has to act with some sort of weapon that will theoretically kill one of the three available in the room. The final scene will be the shot is fired or the dagger is thrown or whatever. You don't know who. Or at least it's going to be openly interpreted as to who uses the weapon and who is hit by the weapon. Until the sequel.
Oh, thank God. So you're going
That
to do
one's
the
going to
evil
piss
thing
people
that
off
I
even
hate about
more.
cliffhangers.
Yes. I am a horrible, horrible person to my characters and to my readers.
Hooray!
I'm very tempted to have my sequel done as the point of view of my main villain, basically covering his portion of the overall plot. So you don't really know what happens until about halfway through the sequel. Haha. Or at least that's the initial concept. Depending on how the word count goes with the first book, I may just merge the two depending on how short they become. Because I want the first book or the overall compendium to be about 85,000 words overall. Or at least 85 to 100. So we'll see how that goes. Out of curiosity, how does week 2 of Nano look for you schedule-wise in regards to being able to write? Because that was going to be the other half of this impromptu little vlog.
Week two looks like it could be better. The thing that I'm investing most of my time at work in is done basically. I tested it out right before I
Nice.
came home, and it worked. So I'm going to tweak it a little bit and add a couple more features to it. But the program itself is written, and that program is going to streamline every analysis we do of this kite forever. This is going to be. I basically took software that we had, hated it, and rewrote the software from scratch.
Can you do that for us?
It depends what the language is. If it's Fortran and ANSYS, yes, I can. But it's all spaghetti code, so it's not actually that exciting. There's no memory cells referencing hex addresses or anything like that. No bits and bytes.
Hmm.
It's all
Well,
basically do loops and matrix math. A lot of matrix math.
we're still kind of Stone Age level in that everything that we do is still in Excel. We don't really have software to compile a lot of the analyses that we want to analyze. So a lot of it is manual.
Now, do you mean through your job?
Yeah. And someone still has to do a lot of the dirty work and heavy lifting. Guess who that is?
Especially when they delete all their dirty work and heavy lifting.
Yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that clients generally don't see that still needs to be done, but someone needs to do it.
But for the rest of the next week, things are looking okay. I might spend some time with a good friend of mine who's up from Virginia, but he's going to be working and I'm going to be working, so I don't see how that's going to affect anything. I'll just do my writing in the morning before I go to work or while I'm at work. Um, this weekend's looking okay. I'll be working this weekend as usual, but it won't be like a 48-hour marathon of work like
Well, that's
last
good.
weekend or that weekend that I was supposed to go to wherever. That was
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, so as long as I can manage to write, 1,700 words after we finish this shindig, and I go off before midnight, then yeah, I'll be still pretty good and on schedule.
Nice. Yeah, as for me, week 2 of Nano is a lot quieter work-wise and school-wise than week 1. So I'm hopeful that I can keep up my 2,000 word a day goal, even though I've really changed the plot considerably from what it was originally outlined as. So I'm going to be making a lot of stuff up as I go in week 2. So that'll either be very good or I could hit a roadblock unexpectedly. I don't know how that's going to go down. I have a feeling I'm going to be using a lot of write or die sprints and cranking a lot of my soundtrack that I've set up for my novel.
Hmm.
Yeah, this week I've realized that there are like 3 songs from the band Beats Antique that summarize the entire plot really nicely. So I have a lot of that type of music set up where it's no vocals, it's mostly just instrumental with heavy beats.
Hmm.
It's not quite dubstep, it's kind of on the borderline, so it's not overly distracting when I try to do sprints.
If you're anything like some of the stuff that I pointed Calvin out to, there's like this new subgenre of dubstep called chill step, which
I
is
love
basically
that
like
subgenre.
there's occasional female vocals, but it's all very like low tempo to high tempo, and then back to low tempo stuff. And some of them have the drop, but most of it's all pretty mellow.
Yeah. And for the record, hello, Tom. Thank you for viewing us. The guest that we had on episode, I want to say 14 or so of Word Ninjas Live is currently watching us. Hello.
Oh God, I'm so scared. And with that, the podcast is over, and we're gonna
Run away.
Oh God, what's this?
But yeah, my initial intention was to do a daily little video of like 5 or 10 minutes throughout Nano of how things are progressing and like how I've managed to keep up my plot or not. But then work and school and life and everything got in the way, so I figured a weekly summary is kind of a good balance or negotiation of that.
You know what that I'm glad you're doing that because that's something that's been driving me nuts about writers. And it's within our group and it's outside of our group. It's everywhere. Writers absolute need to blog and then during Nano blog every single day and then pimp their blog every single day. I would much prefer a every week type of update that's a little bit more lengthier, a little bit more meat to it,
Hmm.
and then the occasional pimping on threads and forums and Facebook pages. But the everyday thing is just exhausting.
Well, for me, it was even on day 1. Okay, I get home at 9:50 at night after a solid workday. I've been up since 5 a.m. I still need to net 2,000 words today. I don't really have time to jump onto Google Hangouts and do a little vlog of, well, I haven't written yet, so I don't have much to talk about. And then things just snowballed from there as life got progressively more silly throughout the week.
Right, and then you have to also wonder if you're adding value by doing an everyday thing.
Yeah, I think if I actually had done a daily vlog of my nano progress, it would have been just for me to basically rant about either I haven't written yet or I have written yet. Look at how awesome I am.
Hmm.
But kind of a weekly summary of how things have gone for me and for you, since you were conveniently able to jump on. I think that's the better way to go
Yeah, I agree.
because you can show how well each week kind of has its own significance in Nano. I mean, week 1, all of the expectation and excitement is there, so you can just bulldoze through your writer's block and your inner critic and all that. Week 2, you get a lot of pushback because real life and all of your obligations are still there, and they're
You're
slowly
still doing
piling
that
up.
novel thing? I get a lot
Yeah,
of that.
it's harder to ignore that and you start feeling a little guilty sometimes, or at least I have, like, yeah, I'm still doing this, and I'm going to ignore you for another 3 weeks. Go away. And then week 3, we'll talk about next Thursday.
It's funny. I actually feel more guilty about the novel itself. Like I feel guilty not getting to it earlier in the day, more than I feel guilty about it distracting me at work.
Oh, I've had that, like, gee, I have an hour and 20 minutes 2 times in my day where I'm just sitting on the train sleeping. I should be nanoing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind that I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep, so that little nap really helps. I still feel guilty about it. I should be writing during that time. What is wrong with me? And then I end up powering through it in the last 2 hours of the night,
Mm-hmm.
like I will be tonight, since it's already
Yep.
10:06.
Yeah.
We should
I'm
be
like,
wrapping this up soon.
I should be writing instead of doing the stupid vlogcast with CJ. Damn it! I'm
What is
never gonna
wrong with
get this
us?
done now. And for some reason, I'm dumb, and I feel like I have to finish it before midnight, or it doesn't count. Even though, if have you noticed that the day reset on the Nano word count thing does not follow your local time?
It
Like,
should follow your time zone, but it has issues with daylight savings time. That they have yet to really
well, on mine it
iron out.
already says that it's day 7, and I've entered in day 7 words, and maybe
Huh.
it just automatically carries over, and then
Oh
I'm
yeah,
supposed to edit
once
it
its
again.
version of midnight hits, then it carries over yesterday's word count into the next day until you
Uh,
update that accordingly.
See, I don't like it doing that because then it screws up all my averages and time to write, or how many words you have to write to finish on time. Because since I finish at like 11:58 p.m. every day, I only have like 45 seconds to look at those stats before they become obsolete at midnight.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of covered how the week 1 has gone and our expectations for week 2. We've even done a few excerpts of our various respective pieces. I think that really covers a solid summary for this nano vlog, unless you have any last minute comments.
I do. I was wondering how much of Saturday you're going to dedicate to the official NaNoWrimo write-a-thon.
What write-a-thon?
So you know how you get those emails every now and then in your Nano mail?
Yeah, and I've been reading them and
Have you though?
I've been skimming them, and
Mm-hmm.
if it's
Yeah,
the
Saturday's a
official
big.
ones, I skim them mainly for, okay, is there any action points that I really need to follow up on? Or, oh, that reminds me, I need to do a pep talk. Eep.
Oh yeah, yeah. Pep talk for our group.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Where does it say?
I remember that email, and I remember skimming through it, but I didn't realize that it was for Saturday already. Good
Yeah,
lord.
Saturday, November 9th, NaNoWriMo's writing marathon. No word count left behind.
Yeesh. Well,
So
theoretically, I'll still be pretty ahead by then, but something for this little live cast, I do a majority of my writing outside of the actual events that I manage because I have trouble focusing during those events. I'm mostly focused on, okay, is the person who just walked in a member of ours that I need to flag down or not? And stuff like that.
right.
So I am not very productive during our write-ins as an ML.
You know what? It's honestly, I'm not. I write a lot better when I'm away. Some days like last week when we were at the coffee shop and the library, the last weekend, those 2 days were great because everyone was typing away. But once week 2 hits, then our write-ins become less and less productive and more cabby.
Yeah, people are a little more familiar with each other, a little more friendly. There's more discussions going on. So I'm going to probably be plugging in my headphones and just trying to power through.
Mm-hmm. I don't blame you. But yeah, write-a-thon Saturday, all day. They're giving away prizes every hour starting at 6 a.m.
Hmm.
EST.
Is it just like the write-a-thon of set your own goal or try and catch up if you're behind, or is there a set
No, it's
goal
a
for
it's just a
everyone?
write-a-thon where we're all writing, but then we're also donating things.
Okay, it's a dual deal.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm trying to skim this and also pay attention at the same time. But yeah, check out the nanorimo.org/writing-marathon, and you'll see all the information there.
All right. I'll have to peruse that while I draft out the pep talk for this week and which will double as the email for events for the weekend. I meant to do that on the train ride home, and then I got distracted.
Can I do a week 3 pep talk?
By all means. You'll have to forward it to me because
Yeah, sure.
it'll go through my account, but yeah, by all means.
Oh, by the way, I have an Evernote folder of every single pep talk that's ever happened.
Since inception or since you've been a
Since
member?
like 2007, I think.
Nice.
So I can definitely try to see if I can find a way to share that on our Facebook page.
Cool. Yeah, that would be worthwhile.
It's not well formatted in title, but it's well formatted in content, and it's like, how many are there?
Well, if it's since 2007, close to 100, I would think.
Yeah, and there's also some Camp Nano and Young Writers as well.
Yeah, you're probably close, if not into the triple digits then. That would definitely be cool to share.
Oh,
I
actually,
mean,
no,
they're
I have
archived on the
89 of
website, I
them.
believe.
89 I have.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that past pep talks are archived on the nanorimo.org website somewhere. I'd have to do
Yeah,
some digging to find the proper URL, but they're
it's
there.
under a menu. It's pretty easy to find. It's how
Yeah.
it's where I culled these from.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have all of them in my Nano mail because that just archives everything and saves throughout the year, even during the resets, but I haven't actually compiled them.
but yeah, 89 pep talks.
All right, I'm giving this little vlog 2 more minutes. So at 10:15, I'm kicking us out so we can write our respective word counts for the night.
Yes, that's going to be important. You're welcome to stick around after the vlog and do word wars with me after you go offline if you're interested, or if you just want to put on headphones and drown out your world, that's fine too.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna queue up my music and hop onto Write or Die because I need to power out those words and then draft the pep talk that I'll send out tomorrow.
Fair enough. So we got 2 minutes left.
Well, that was like the end game time. We're welcome to sign out now.
No, I like to awkwardly just talk about how we only have 2 minutes left for the next 2 minutes.
Just talk really slowly.
Let's think about what to write. What scenes do I want to write? I only have 2 hours. Not even. Oh boy. Well, good luck, CJ, on your journey of writing.
Yep, and to you and to all the viewers that check this out.
Yep, indeed.
Good luck with your respective nanos, regardless of what time it happens to be.
And,
until next Thursday for this one.
Bye-bye.
Else it goes on. Why not add 2,000 words a day on top of everything else? Who needs sleep? Especially in November. But yeah, amazingly, I've actually kept up with the 2,000 words a day so far. I have yet to actually get my 2,000 words in today, and I still have 2.5 hours to crank that out. So chances are after this, I'm going to be going into Write or Die and just pounding out the 2,000 words for tonight so that I can keep up my daily quota. But for the moment, not counting today, things have been going really well, and my plot isn't even remotely what it was originally. I had a lot of telepaths and empaths and telekinetics within the original plot. That's kind of been washed away for an entirely different focus on the story. I still have the same characters, although some have changed priorities. The father figure is no longer going to be one of the secondary characters within a certain range, and she's bipolar. So, depending on where she happens to be on the emotional spectrum at the moment, things can go a little sideways, as it were, which has really helped with my word count, but I feel really bad for her. But it has also netted me some very interesting passages where she kind of monologues her progress from her normal level bipolar episodes to the bottom of the barrel, this is as low as I'm going to get situations, which I haven't fully written yet, and I don't know if I'm actually going to fully write because that's really hard to put down on the paper. Yes, it's a fictional character, but trying to write out these scenarios where she's at the very bottom of her life and it's as worse as it can possibly get, that's not easy to write. Maybe when I'm not doing 2,000 words a day, I'll take the for Nano, like how's the writing process been going, and have you learned anything about your novel since day one and stuff like that.
Cool. Are we live at the moment?
Yes, we are.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab my headphones.
Okie dokie. While I wait for Justin, I'll get things rolling a little bit. I started off Nano this year with a semi-solid plot. My whole cerebral steampunk tea shop plot that I've kind of been talking about a bit during the Word Ninjas Live episodes on our YouTube page. And starting on day one, for some reason, I made the crazy goal of doing 2,000 words a day rather than the average 1,667, because why not? The regular challenge apparently wasn't enough for me on top of my night classes and full-time work and 4 hours of travel per day and everything else is more tertiary, and one of the tertiary characters has become secondary and is kind of become the sidekick, as it were, to my main character, Skyliera. So now I have the dynamic duo, or sort of the dysfunctional duo, really, as it is at the moment, kind of muddling their way through the plot so far at 12,000 words and change, soon to be 14,000 after this. But I also realized that my main character has foibles and issues, but not enough to really care about. So I gave her some bipolar disorder, because I am horrible to my characters. So now Skylera has bipolar disorder, and that is playing a very large part in the plot, more so than I would have expected, considering she's an empath. So she is able to sense feelings and kind of convey her feelings upon others. Good evening, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to an unofficial little vlog for full coverage writers. I'm actually coming to you today to do a little summary on Nano Week 1 and the shenanigans that have ensued since day one. Basically just a little recap to sort of cover how the first 7 days of the month have gone so far and kind of what I've learned about my novel and the whole experience of getting back into the whole writing process full time. Well, not full time. Working on a novel every day is the equivalent of full time for me. Hey, Justin.
Hello, hello.
I actually just started kicking things off. We haven't really gotten anywhere yet.
That's fair.
I mostly wanted to do a little week one summary of how things have been going